Okay, yeah, so I'm Danny, Mindful Malonga, as it says there. So yeah, social dancing. I've been a social dancer since I was a teenager, really. I started off in the late 60s, early 70s as a teenager, dancing to soul and reggae in youth clubs. And in my 20s, I sort of frequented nightclubs. And throughout that time, and in my 30s, by the time I was in my 30s, sort of the rave scene had kind of started, and I was going to warehouse parties and raves and stuff like that, and that also involved that lifestyle actually involved a lot of drinking alcohol and a lot of consumption of recreational drugs, and in my mid 30s. I had a bit of a crisis. I had a bit of a sort of mental health crisis, really. I was having panic attacks, and I had to stop drinking and taking drugs. And at that point, I started meditating, and it was something that, you know, as a way of sort of sorting myself out. And but I wanted to continue dancing, and but I needed to change the environment that I danced in, and so I started to do salsa classes, and so that's when I was 35. So I started dancing salsa, and I was meditating at the same time. So these two things that had replaced my old life, if you like. I was living in London at that time, and I moved down to Brighton 15 years ago, and I started dancing tango. And Brighton, of course, is a place where there's quite a lot of people, a lot of yoga people here. There's a lot of meditation goes on here. So I sort of continued that strand of my life, and so I started dancing tango. And I continued to meditate. And I never really put those two bits of my life together. They're all very separate. My tango dancing and my sort of meditative life was quite separate things. But over this last year, that's changed a lot. I've had time to reflect on that. And I started doing, just before the pandemic, I started doing 5 rhythms. And I sort of tied all these things together, sort of tango, 5 rhythms, meditating. And I was talking to a lot of people about it, and I realised that they're kind of the same thing to me, or they all feed into each other. Or specifically, dancing to me is a sort of mindfulness practice, and mindfulness improves my dancing. And so, you know, hence, as a result of all this deliberation over the last year or so, I've kind of invited everybody here who I think, in one way or another, is interested in both social dancing or movement at the very least, that's me, and mindfulness practices. So that's my 3 minutes up. I'm going to pass over to Rosaria. I'll set the timer for 3 minutes. I'll hold my phone up when that's up, and I'll put myself on mute now.
Well, great. Thank you for that. That was really kind of, it put me in a really nice kind of route of what I may say next. so my name is Rosaria, and I'm a dance artist, a researcher, and I'm really interested in mindfulness. I'm really interested in awareness, and that's my main thing. And I think we can talk about this much later, but I think from where I am coming from, it's interesting when you were talking about clubbing, because I've been dancing all my life. I started with flamenco and ballet and different dance styles, a little bit more traditional, but I didn't want to carry on with the traditional conservatoire training. So I was a little bit more of a kind of a rebel in just exploring different dance styles. But something that it came out really, really clearly since I was very young and I started clubbing is that I was really interested in looking at people moving. And it was really interesting how I could kind of read people and really integrate people and being together dancing with people, but I needed to come from a place where I was comfortable and where I was aware where I was. So it wasn't like the random of reaching people, but it was like, I'm comfortable here, I'm dancing, and then you start connecting with the people around you, and then you start identifying even different personality traits, just looking at people, how they dance. And that fascinated me all my life. So then I continued with training, and it was when I came to the UK almost 26 years ago that I started yet exploring more dance styles, and then I came across Gyrotonic and Gyrokinesis with Laurie. And what that gave me, because I tried yoga before, I tried meditation before, and it has been always appealing, but it never kind of got me. So it was at a moment in time where I was just working with the machine and I was breathing that it just clicked. It was so fluid. He was playing the lovely music that he normally plays at the studio, and I was just like really going into the zone, and all of a sudden my body was really able to actually communicate with the tower. And that kind of put me in a path in a way. And from then, I have continued training and working with people. And that is one of the things that I'm really, really aware when I work with people, both sport elites, variable bodies, and people that have problems with mobility, or even people that are in a very advanced stage of dementia that can move very little. It's just really the small things matter. It's just how you are, where you are, and your body can just speak by itself. But it's that kind of level of being, I don't know, it's just a kind of a sense of serenity, and you are good with yourself. There is no way kind of trying to emulate, to look anything in particular. When I do choreography, that's something I say as well. It's like, don't pretend to make a shape. It's don't pretend to just do something that you think that people are gonna like looking at. I mean, what is that? Just make your genuine movement. And I suppose that that's where I'm coming from. Is that the individual and the collective together, listening to each other.
Lovely. Thanks, Rosaria. Rachel, you next.
Hi all, I'm Rachel Sparks of Rachel Sparks Dance. I have come from lots of different dance styles, but probably most known for doing gender neutral partner dancing, but particularly ballroom dancing. And in my kind of experience of coming to ballroom dancing as an adult after having done it as a child, I realized as a queer person that there was quite a lot missing for me in terms of accessibility for people who are non-binary or trans. Even in same-sex communities, there was kind of a bit missing for the sort of safe space for queer people. So that was kind of one angle that really felt really important to me. But also in all my dance training, I've kind of I was very much a form-based person right up until I started training in contemporary dance, and then I realized how much more there was available in terms of exploring movement and expression when I started to improvise and learn how to improvise movement. So having all this kind of like all these parts feeding into each other, when as I started to teach people as an adult, I started to teach couples how to dance. I started to discover patterns in people's relationships. Now, I was teaching them for their first dances, for their weddings. It wasn't really appropriate for me to start coaching them on whether they really thought they should be together or not. But sometimes I did wonder. So I started to realize that there was an opportunity maybe to discover a little more about what it is in the embodied connection that starts to show up our relational patterns and our kind of general patterns in life. And I went into embodied training. So I did the embodied facilitators course, and that helped me to build principles around any of my teaching. So whether that's working with couples, whether working with individuals, working with the queer community, my principles and what I think is important is to build awareness first. Like, can I feel myself? Am I aware of what's going on in my body, in my embodied patterns? And then maybe there's some other things I would like a little more of in my life so I can build range. And then I have availability of choice. And so where can I choose? And that really applies to anything in any kind of movement, in any choice of life. So this is kind of where I'm coming from. Over lockdown, I've not done really barely any partner dancing teaching because I found it difficult to communicate it online. So I've actually gone to more solo dancing, and I'm still finding that is still an important message, no matter what kind of style of dancing I'm facilitating. So that's where I'm coming from. Thanks.
Lovely. Thanks, Rachel. Ieva?
Hello, thanks everybody for beautiful contributions. I really resonated with every one of you actually. My name is Ieva and I am a tango dancer. I started teaching very recently, so very new to the teaching world, and I had to stop it because of COVID. I am also a relationship coach, and I qualified as a relationship coach because it was inspired by tango as well. So that was interesting in my biography. In my tango journey, as I started to learn tango, and obviously when you become so passionate about a dance, you want to be better all the time. You know, you want to be able to do things. You want to progress quickly. And at some point, not in the beginning, but maybe somewhere in the middle of my journey, I realized that the only way that I can progress is by connecting with my body. And what I mean by connecting with my body is not necessarily, I think as dancers, we are used to discipline ourselves and move as much as possible and do things right to create a memory, a muscle memory, which is all good. But I think what I realize that this is not gonna help, because I need to really be in my body to understand how each muscles are positioning. Like I would imagine myself being in my body, in every, like in my hand, in my leg, in my neck, in my shoulder blades, everywhere, so I can feel where the movement is coming from. So that is the first thing, and this is actually the first thing that actually allowed me to progress in my tango journey. And another thing I realized, and obviously connecting with myself is a way of meditating, right? We need to connect through the body. We need to connect through ourselves, and it's very peaceful there to be inside. So this is where I realized that, okay, tango is a meditation. And I realized that there are different forms of meditation, like playing piano could be a meditation, you know, and I think each of us are individuals. And like Rosaria said, I have been doing yoga, but nothing clicked with that. I have been doing yoga, but it didn't click to me. But somehow through tango, I discovered that I can be in my body. And for me, that was interesting experience, interesting insight. The other thing that I discovered with tango is obviously it's a partner dance. So I realized that tango can be quite a close dance. So people are very close with, you know, touching each other's body. And although it's a physically closed dance, I realize that the connection happens not because of the closeness or how close you are, but that the connection happens on some different level that we can't really capture. You know, it's like an energy level that you don't know where it is. Maybe it's inside, maybe it's outside, maybe it's in the aura of two people being in the bubble. But when it happens, when that connection happens, you know that it's there, and there's no question about it. You know it's there, and you know there's no need to communicate about it. You just know that I feel connection, and you know that the other person is feeling connection. And I think what tango opened up for me as well, how much being present with oneself can help you to be more present with the other. And for me, like, you know, the idea of connection is depending really on your ability to be present for yourself and for another person.
Thanks, Ieva.
Okay, I'm over the time, yeah. Okay.
You get a chance to talk later. Sorry.
Yeah, okay, great.
Thanks for that. Sasha.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's going to be difficult not to repeat everybody, but I'll try. A little bit like Danny, I've been dancing all my life. Some of my earliest memories are watching my parents dance at where there's live music and so on, and them encouraging me to join. So I guess that was the first thing that influenced my life dramatically. And the other thing that really changed my life was, by pure serendipity, by pure chance, I discovered tango and tantra around the same time, around 15 or plus years ago. At the time, I didn't realize the overlap at all. I was focused on learning. Everyone who is dancing tango knows how frustrating and scary it is when you first start and you think you just don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to walk, never mind dance. So I was focused on learning tango. I was focused on learning tantra, but then the more I was getting into both, the more I was starting to be aware of the overlaps. And I'm pretty confident, I'm not going to bet, but I'm pretty confident that I could talk about one or the other for 10, 15 minutes without people realizing, am I talking about tango or am I talking about tantra? I could literally talk about presence, about authenticity. I could talk about what Ieva just mentioned, and I think a few others as well, about two energies rising together and creating magic, which goes outside the body, goes beyond the body. I could talk about things that are so beautiful, and ultimately you cannot achieve them without having full awareness of yourself, of your body, of your emotions, of your energy. Where are you? And you have to switch off the outside world, and it sort of happens without you trying. Normal meditation for me doesn't work. I'm too restless and I have too much energy, and just sitting and thinking to calm down my mind doesn't work. Dancing without a fail, but it's same when I do, let's say, tantric massage or any kind of body work, or when I'm dancing tango, I get into the flow, and with that I bring myself to myself, if you like, and then through that I connect with, I don't want to sound pretentious, but the universe, really. I become part or reconnect with a greater whole, which again can be applied in any conversation, whether it's about tango or about tantra. So in that sense, once I started becoming aware of mindfulness, I realized, yeah, this is it. It's whatever I do, or either of these I do, it will be pure mindfulness, or at least you are trying to achieve that as a goal. Some days are better than others, and some days are easier than others. And of course, with some partners, there is more magic. But yeah, I love it. And to me, tango is mindfulness for sure. Thank you, Danny.
Thanks, Sasha. I'll hand over to Helen now.
Great. Okay. Yeah, it's great listening to everybody. And I don't think it matters that we're kind of repeating a little bit, but in our own unique ways, you know, because people who are going to resonate with this, it's because they already know and understand what we're talking about. I think, you know, it's like, but it can be something that dawns on you gradually as well. And for me, when I started dancing tango, I'd been meditating for a while before that. I'd had a serious illness, and I was like, I can't wait any longer to find my spiritual self. You know, it's time to start doing that now. And also I work as a psychotherapist, and I'm a psychologist. So I'm very, very passionately interested in what creates the most beneficial states for us as human beings. And maybe it's for a certain type of person as well, as we've been saying, maybe quite a few of us, there's something about movement which maybe works best for us in terms of reaching meditative states. I've done yoga before, but there is something about dance that I find that's really, really effective in shifting my mind state away, if you like, from a more preoccupied, more ego-based or mind chattery kind of state towards a very centered, present time, beautiful, you know, it can be an incredibly beautiful experience. I mean, obviously, any kind of mindfulness, sometimes you have to be mindfully with the more unpleasant feelings or uncomfortablenesses, or where, you know, you may have things in your body or your emotion that are blocks to being present. But what I found is that there's something about this social connection with another person who you may not even have ever met before. You know, I've been to milongas all over the world, social dances for tango, and dance can be a universal language. And there's something about the fact that there is largely an absence of words that I think helps to shift us out of this pre-conceptualized thinking. Because most of the time, you know, we're seeing everything through our filters, therefore we're feeling and experiencing everything through our filters. But there's a very immediate presence that you can feel between the two of you, and then the music. So it's a very live time movement through sort of time and space of two people being completely present. Obviously, sometimes you might have the odd thought come in, but you have to let that go out of your mind, otherwise you can't be there in the moment to respond, to initiate, respond, whichever you're doing at that time. So the dance itself requires, oh, and I've got to wind up now, but I think there's something magic about it because it requires you to be present.
Lovely, thanks, Helen. Jamie?
Hello. Yeah, I think I've changed what I was going to say about 4 times, listening to everyone go through their spiel there. Really enjoyed listening to everyone. I come at this from a completely different perspective. So I'm just trying to think of the best way to explain kind of, I guess, where I'm at and my my connection to this this whole thing. I'm certainly not a dancer, and my experience of tango involves Strictly Come Dancing, watching it on the TV, and sneaking into a locals club in Buenos Aires a few years ago on honeymoon with my wife, which was absolutely fantastic. As a sports therapist, I'm a lover of all movement, as you can imagine. I come from a very scientific background. I have a degree in computer software, which I don't like to talk about. So there's a very logical mind there. I kind of like problem solving. I kind of had a slightly dramatic career change in my mid to late 20s into sports therapy, following my true passion. I found myself in my mid to late 20s living in Swindon, working in IT, finding myself quite depressed for some reason, which I can't imagine why that might have been. And depression's been a theme through my life, shall we say, a very motivational theme, but one nonetheless. And it's always meant that I've been very in tune with that mind-body connection. I think I noticed probably actively around that time or just before how important sport was to me as a way of, you know, managing my mental health. And obviously overdoing it, shall we say, led me to injuries, which led me to my passion and what I'm still passionate about today. I always say I'm a better person as a sports therapist than I was in IT, and I truly believe that. It's just led me on an incredible journey, you know, to be with, you know, you guys today, for example, and completely understanding everything you're talking about from a guy who has a computer software degree is a long way to come. I think the thing for me is I started off my sports therapy career just looking at the body and just wanting to help people, wanting to help myself, want to understand more. And as I've gained more experience, it's just taken me further and further down that mind-body route. And I think for me, and it was really interesting to hear the different stories you guys were telling, because everyone's path to that mindfulness is completely different. I'm still probably a bit too repressed to let my bits go fully. So I'll be coming to join you with Tango in the next couple of years, I hope. But yoga works for me, for example, at the moment, but I'm still looking for further ways to release myself and just finding the best way to unlock the potential that I see in others, sports people, dancers, and people who just want to walk to the shops in a better way.
Lovely, thanks, Jamie. That's great. And
hello, everybody. I'm very grateful to be here with you. I resonate a lot, and I'm happy we're doing this. I'm feeling a lot of energy moving right now. Tango is the love of my life, and I feel the world would be a different place if there were more tango dancers, or at least if people would hug each other more. So I want to share from my story that my earliest memory of me dancing is when I was 4 years old. I was dancing in our living room. We had a vinyl disc player, and my mom got a phone call, and her mother just died, my grandma. And I understood, because she was saying, Valerie, stop the music. Abu just died. And I kept on dancing, and I felt I have to express this in my body now. It makes me think of what Pina Bausch said: dance, dance, otherwise we're lost. And dancing for me is a vessel where we can pour all our emotions in. And when I go to a milonga, it doesn't matter how I feel on that day, whether I'm upset with someone or I feel sad or I just got great news and I want to celebrate. However, I feel I go to a milonga and I just dance it, and it moves, and the energy gets like stirred around, and you meet people and you talk to them and you have wine together. So there are all these different aspects when you dance. And my big life shift was when I traveled around the world, and I was in India at a Tantra festival. And in the Tantra festival, I was also in my first Biodanza class. And so I discovered Biodanza. And Biodanza is a form of guided improvisation dance, where the facilitator helps people to express their personality, their emotion in the dance. And this is what I do now with tango. I developed Biotango to see tango from this perspective. And they all, Biodanza and tango and also tantra, they have as the base the hug, the encounter, really, really seeing the person you are with and creating together, co-creating together, authentically the present moment. This for me is the magic, and I feel we have lost a lot of that. People lose how to see each other because they're really distracted. They're a lot on their phone. So for me, dancing is like a wake-up call to go back there. Thank you.
lovely, thanks, Valerie. And we've lost Anna on video, but Anna, are you there? Yeah, she's reappeared.
Can you hear me? Hey. the quest to find Wi-Fi in the house goes on. So it's been a real problem actually in lockdown. Yeah. Anyway, but that's a different subject. I just wanted to say and celebrate this group. Like, how amazing! I'm just like, like running around the house, like so excited. And I want to piggyback on everything everyone's saying. And thank you, Danny, for organizing. So I'm Anna. It's really interesting how you describe yourself, right? So I was like, how do I describe myself? So I guess I describe myself as UK Latinx dance artist. So I am from Argentina. I also spent many years as a child and as an adult in Brazil, so I feel quite identified with that culture too, as well as the UK. And tango is one of the dance. It's like a the whole culture of it, and it means many things. And I think that's what's interesting about tango, because obviously there's an element of identity with it, but also I think I got into tango because of the music. So that was always the biggest calling for me, and I think that's still the case. Is that I love the music. So, and I play guitar myself, and I really, I feel like that's a big drive for me with how I teach and how I perform, is the relationship to music. I'm going through a moment of my life of I guess it's transforming, but I'm working a lot more with movement direction, and I'm using tango a lot with actors, and that's also fascinating because I think it was Rachel was saying about queer culture and tango and that sort of line of investigation, because I find a lot of the actors say that because of the big steps of tango, a lot of the female identifying actors say that it helps them embody a more masculine character. So there's so much like to it that at the moment I'm kind of like a bit lost in, and also the idea of touch and the intention of touch and intimacy. So I'm looking at that more from I guess a performing aspect rather than oh my gosh, psychological, is that the word? So at the moment I feel like I'm going through a bit of a transformation in how I look at tango, because a lot of my life has been as a performer and working with tango in a very, boring commercial way. Like if I see another flipping tango show about a prostitute and a gang, I'm setting fire to the theater. But it's also part of it. And I think I started up my own company. I'm probably almost out of time, so I'm going to talk really fast. So I started up my own company last year, and a lot of that was a kind of a will and a calling, I guess, to put our stories on stage. So I'm really interested in how tango has the capacity to hold and tell narratives as well. Done.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to probably have my camera off just because, as you can see, I'm outside. For some reason, Wi-Fi is better here. So yeah, I'm here, but I'll just have my camera off.
Okay. Thanks, Anna. That's great. Okay. So let's just sort of take a little break. So Andrew, who's off screen, has been picking up comments from Facebook Live. So they've got into the chat here, and I'll just read a couple of these. So Robert Raphael Saris says, hi, Sergio, could Sasha elaborate on Tantra? What is it and how does it relate to tango? And also Valerie's mentioned Tantra. So there's a couple of things that have come up. So that's a couple of things that come out of the Facebook Live. I've got quite a lot of questions myself. I've got loads of stuff. Wow, I've sort of been making notes about relationships, awareness, connection with the body, all sorts of stuff. So I propose we just go into, so we've all had a chance to talk. So basically, I think I'll throw okay, so I was just reading questions out of the chat. Let's actually just put that question, both Sasha and Valerie mentioned Tantra, and maybe you could say a little bit more about that, what that connection is, and then maybe just let it roll on from there, if that's okay.
With pleasure. Valerie, ladies first.
Oh, I was prepared that you will be the first. But okay, let me see. I just remember one moment when I was dancing in Tango Terra in London, and I did a cabaseo with a dancer, and we came closer. And sometimes it happens that you fall into an automatism in tango, but it can also happen in sexuality, that you repeat the things you know well that already work for you, and you go and you already form the embrace, and there you start dancing. But with this guy, it was not the case. We came closer, and it was like we were tuning into each other's energy, and I felt we were like synchronizing our breathing, and then really, really slowly forming the embrace and feeling like the open side of the embrace, like just sliding upwards. And like after the first few seconds, I felt this guy practice Tantra. Like I just felt it in this presence. So for me, the answer would be in Tantra and in Tango, we practice presence.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I would only add to that, in complete sync with Valerie. For me, walking up to the embrace, I have to still myself in order to listen, in order to hear my partner. And by hear, I do mean it symbolically, of course. I need to hear, I need to feel the energy. So for me, I interpret it as curiosity. I need to understand, I need to try and understand who is this person in front of me before I can try and work with them, or before I can try and create magic with them, which is exactly what happens with Tantra as well. Whether that is, like I said, that is in massage, or whether that is in, I also do counseling work and intimacy coach and so on, or whether that is in sex as well, as Valerie mentioned. I need to come open and ready to hear who is this person in front of me. Yes, so, and obviously the other person is feeling the same, and that way we can start creating, okay, well, maybe we can do this, maybe we can do that, and little by little we fall into harmony. And in that sense, Tango is Tantra, and the other way around, very much so. I think Sergio was also asking about the silence. And yes, absolutely, Tango exists in the pauses. So silence is not necessarily everything, but silence is super important. And silence on both of those levels. Again, I have to still my mind, I have to still myself, I have to still whatever I'm carrying with me in order to be pure and present with this person right here, right now. So in that sense, silence, but then also we need to go beyond which moves do I know, which steps can my partner follow. We need to go into just feeling each other's energy. And may sound very esoteric, but it is completely intuitive. And in that sense, yes, it's done through silence, and I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Valerie, Sasha. Would anybody else just like to jump in and build on any of that, or with something new? But by all means, just unmute yourself.
Yeah, we're just going to say that beautiful. Thank you very much, everybody. And one of the things, I just feel the odd one out because I don't practice tango. So sorry. I think I may have to start now. So one more thing. But one of the things I really relate, I mean, for me, lots of different things that you have been saying kind of resonate to lots of different, I can see people, I can see interactions, I can see how everything is coming together. But one of two things I wanted to kind of put out there is that we are talking here about that connection with the other person, and yeah, we have that with dances like tango or forró or salsa, particularly forró and tango, where you can be quite close because the principle is that embrace. When you are dancing salsa, it's different, it's freer on all their styles. It's still that magic happens when you're not thinking about the steps and you're actually kind of reading the language of the other person. But I think that this magic happens as well when you're just dancing on your own. And I think it's really important. I think that Ieva also mentioned this, is that idea of once you are comfortable, once you are relaxed, whatever way you are integrating the music or feeling the space, feeling whatever, then you are able to communicate. It's like in the plane, put the mask on you before helping anybody else. Is you really support yourself, and it's not navel grazing. It's not spending hours looking at how do I feel today. No, it's about that kind of just testing the waters, just feeling on yourself. And once you are in that position of, you know, confidence, security, that you feel safe and you can open to other people, then magic happens. And for me, it's like, Anna, I need the music. Music for me is essential. And I think that when you're finding your own self, and then you are part of a collective where you disappear, music for me is the unifying factor. And all of a sudden, you are just a mass. It doesn't matter. I mean, I experience that every single time, particularly when I do mass movement or in carnival, you disappear. It's just the whole, and you feel this in concerts as well. And that's beautiful, because then all of a sudden you're just creating this, yeah, it's an energy that is much bigger than the sum of all of us. So that's one of the main things I wanted to say. Another thing is that even, you know, if people are listening to this, is like, I've never experienced that, no idea what you're talking about. I think that is, you know, it's a journey. Some people sometimes they really like partner dance, and that's what they do, and that's their passion. Some people just like doing dancing on their own, and it's a continuous learning process. You know, it's one day you are in tune with the universe, the other day you're not even in tune with your eyelid. I mean, it's just, it doesn't really matter, but it's just really going with whatever. I think for me, that's why awareness is important, is because just listen to where you are at that moment in time and use it. Use it for your own well-being, and really to be with other people. So it's not to pose and pretend to be something you are not. It's just, you know, just be with how you are, really, and stop there.
Thanks, Rosaria. Anyone want to build on that or anything? Jamie, yeah.
Technology issue, sorry. Yeah, I was just amazed to listen and hear the overlaps with, you know, my discipline, which is so completely not dancing. But when you hear people speak about it, you almost, you know, what I'm talking about here is therapist-client relationship. And be interested to get Helen's view on this as a dancer and, you know, psychotherapist. But I was really enjoyed Sasha's point about coming into the embrace. Now, I don't embrace my clients, that's not appropriate. The embrace for me is when I shut the door on that clinic room door there. It doesn't matter, you know, I've got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old at home, and that's why I've come back into work to do this. You know, it doesn't matter what's going on the outside, we shut that door, and then you get into that space. And that's when something, you know, amazing happens. And when you can get in that right kind of mindset, and you know, as I've got more experienced over the years, you know, I think when you try out in any profession, you're trying to prove yourself to yourself as much as anything. When you stop doing that, and actually you're in the moment, and you're just kind of listening to, tuning in, as you're saying, in a physical dancing sense. I'm tuning into kind of maybe some emotional stuff, which, you know, Helen's field, obviously more specifically, but I'm tuning into a physical sense in kind of what their body needs. And, you know, when I get a client in that's able to meet me in that same space, or as a professional, I need to meet them in the space that they're in, then that's when, you know, the amazing things happen. And it is literally like a dance. It just made me think of that as you guys were talking about it. So yeah, fascinating stuff.
Thanks, Jamie. Helen, did you want to pick up on anything that Jamie said there? Unmute.
Right. No, I know Anna wanted to say something, so I'm happy to go after you, Anna, if you wanted to say something.
On you go, Anna.
Okay, thank you. It was relating to what Rosaria was saying, because I think it was interesting in terms of it, looking at it in terms of the social dance lens. Is the drive of students to get better. You hear that all the time. I want to be better. I want to improve. And it's often quite reflective of things going on internally, you know. And actually, by being better, they're referring to wanting to emulate something. So I think it's interesting because the more time you spend with the students, actually what you're doing is, or sorry, the more time they spend really studying it, they're actually just getting to know themselves as dancers. So that's also something that's really fascinating, I think, from a teacher's perspective, and looking at it as a social dance where you don't need to have X number of years of technique of a form, let's say. You're learning to improvise. But often people want a structure to that, and they have this goal of emulating something, which I find fascinating because it's not possible to copy someone. It's just not. So yeah, just wanted to add that to Rosaria's comment.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And you know, there's something. I mean, Danny and I have been looking quite a lot at how would we introduce this concept of mindfulness and tango, like if we were to do a workshop or something like that. And it would be at absolutely that point, because although tango is a form, you know, which is great to learn and have as a vehicle for expression. I mean, a bit like Jamie was saying as well, what you actually have is a dialogue going on, exactly the same as therapy, really. I see a complete parallel. In therapy, you have a kind of verbal dialogue and an emotional dialogue that's going on between the client and the therapist. And often you can reach these points where there is a kind of sense of resolution or things dropping away. It's a sense where people say they feel lighter, you know, where things fall into place. And a lot of that is happening out of the connection that's going on between the therapist and the client. And of course, in dance, you have exactly the same thing. You have a connection that's going on between two people. And as Anna was saying, our mind, you know, can get a bit hooked on wanting to perfect our steps, or wanting to perfect our technique or our posture. Same in any kind of dance. I'm sure people can get hung up on this stuff. And also they can give up because of coming in and feeling, well, I don't look anything like this professional dancer, or my image of how I'm supposed to look. So, you know, Anna's point about, you know, getting to know your own body and how your body relates to other people's bodies, and that's a journey, I think is just so important. If we could take away all the stuff of the focus on learning steps and have the focus be on, you know, having an experience, that this is an experience, there's just a form there about how to be with another person, whatever that form takes in terms of whatever dance style it is. It doesn't really matter. Some of us here are completely bonkers about tango, and other people are completely passionate and crazy about their other dance forms. It doesn't matter what the dance form is. I think there's something about the closeness in close dances, which is both perhaps initially for me a little bit challenging, but I think offers an enormous amount of potential to heal any trauma in the body and overcome just social constraints and constrictions about what it means to be closer to somebody. Because of course, actually, there's wonderful health benefits and psychological benefits to feeling that safety of being in a hug and an embrace, just making that physical intimacy and connection to someone, I think is a really powerful and subtle thing that happens in the dance embrace. Yeah.
Thanks, Helen.
Could I add into that?
And you go, yeah, go.
There's something, because I'm coming from a ballroom dancing perspective, which feels quite far away from some of the experiences that you're describing in tango. And I have experience of tango, but much more in the ballroom. And the ballroom hold even is sort of far away, really. We're holding each other and really not embracing each other at the same time. And so for me, there's a sort of frustration I've always felt as an adult in ballroom dancing, which is that there is not much talk of actual connection, only really in the kind of efficiency of moving. So it becomes much more about proficiency and efficiency rather than like connection, emotional connection, even though you're kind of supposed to act it out, especially in the rumba, for instance. But so that's where kind of I've found my frustrations in that form, and also just in the facilitation of it. Or it's not really facilitated, it's taught. And I don't mean to diss all the ballroom teachers out there. I am also a ballroom teacher, but there's big holes in it, and I think it's like the form can create a type of person, and a type of person will go towards a particular form because of something they see in themselves that sort of gets either bolstered by it, or, you know, our neuroses appear in the way in which we choose, or the things we choose to do. So for me, like, I would like to sort of also come back to like elemental base, body, human, earthy, ground, like get back to the very basics of being, and yes, have the form to come to as a way to enjoy music and enjoy connecting to another person. But what's the point of doing it if you're not enjoying that connection? What's the point in being in an embrace of someone who you seem to have no interest in whatsoever because of the, you know, I see couples who know each other very well, like years married, still dancing, ballroom dancing, and they look miserable as hell dancing together. And I just think, why? And it's just habit, you know, that habit of just continuing to do something because it might look good or might bolster our ego somehow because we appear to be better than someone else. And there's quite a lot of pomposity, I think, around in a performativity, even in social dancing, in the ballroom scene. And again, please, any ballroom dancers, feel free to argue with me about this. I don't mind. I don't mind putting myself out there and being a bit annoying to you, but it just feels, that's my experience, and I would like to bring an alternative and really learn from the sort of more connectedness that tango really offers. I think there's just so much natural moving towards mindfulness and connection that happens in the tango. And I think, as Anna was saying, you can also get very performative styles of anything. That means you're not really connected to the being, you're only interested in the doing and the achieving. And, you know, what I guess the question is, what's your intention? What's the point? Does it nourish you? And are you just living out your neurosis over and over again? Is a question I ask, basically. And I'll rest there.
Thanks, Rachel.
Could I just ask Rachel a quick question off the back of that? I mean, I'm fascinated by people's postures, and you can tell a lot about someone's personality by their posture, and that's part of what I do and help people kind of move on from, I guess, particularly when they're in the right space mentally. I'm interested. I'm just wondering if you find certain personality types are attracted to certain dances, for example.
Yeah, I'm happy to respond to that, but also I'm sure other people have responses as well. I do think it's totally a guessing game. I'm not a psychologist. I'm sort of I'm interested in the sociology and psychology of people, and I notice and try and pay attention to these things. But I do think there is a tendency of certain type of postured person in ballroom dancing, which tends to be bolt upright and a bit. Well, in my experience, men can often be very down and back into their heels. Women, maybe because they're wearing heels, tend to be much more kind of forward and onto their toes, but not in the kind of tango way. They're kind of, it's a bit of the proud. There's basically a very proud posture about ballroom dancing, I think, and it even offers this kind of down the nose look, which for me creates a sense of superiority and, you know, a posture of that. And I'm not saying that everybody in ballroom does that. It's just an observation of some people and my experiences. And but, you know, I meet swing dancers and they're just a lot more like this. They've got more kind of ease about their kind of way of being, and then tango dancers have this intensity of like connection and direction and sort of, you know, there's, so that's my observation of those things. I'm sure other people might have other opinions, and obviously there's always exceptions to those rules. They're not really rules, they're just maybe archetypes.
Thank you.
Thank you, really interesting.
Can I add something to the yes, Danny?
Yeah.
I think, you know, Rachel, it's so beautiful that you're sharing so honestly. I think, you know, I honor your honesty. And at the same time, I can tell you that in tango, we also have personality. You know, we also have people who like to look good or who want to look good. And I mean, we are all guilty of that. You know, we are all guilty. When I started dancing, you know, I remember how I was looking, you know, wanting to look good, right? I wasn't, you know, in the beginning, but I was wanting to look good. And then you're in the milonga where other people, you see, you see how, you know, where they set their mind. It's obvious. Sometimes you can see it. You don't need to read their minds. You just, or when you dance with the person, you can pick up the energy, where the energy is, and you can sense that. But I think it's important to actually acknowledge that we're not really perfect. You know, we are just human beings, and sometimes I like to recognize other people. Okay, well, this is where we are, you know, this is where you are, and you probably will develop. Maybe some time along the line you will discover something else. And I think what Jamie and Helen shared about being able to drop that you know, professionalism, and to drop almost like, you know, to stop thinking about what you're doing and why you're doing and why you need to be perfect. That is when you become yourself at ease, and then you are able to connect with another human being, and it's so easy. It's like you don't need to take any effort in that moment. You just, it's like you're in the flow completely. But I think as much as it's effortless in that moment, it is a journey, and I think we all have to make that journey. And it's not an easy journey. I think to be present is probably one of the most difficult skills, like lifetime skills, that one can think about. And you know, we're doing all these things, meditation and tango and mindfulness, and we're still not getting there. You know, there's no end to getting there, and we can always be more perfect, but we never get there. So I think it's important to just realize that, and yeah, just wanted to share that.
Thanks, Ieva.
Yeah, I had some reflections.
Yeah.
So we've been talking before about how it is really hard, like, to learn tango, to get the techniques, and as Ieva said, to get the steps right and to look good. And we are really, really focused on that. And this is also the reason why I think many people don't even start to learn tango, or they think, oh, it's really complicated. Or maybe they go to the first few classes and then they learn the paso básico, and it's difficult, and they get discouraged. And there is such a huge gap between going to classes and then coming to the milonga, where you actually go on the dance floor and melt into the embrace and enjoy the dance. There is such a big passage you have to make to get to this enjoyment until you get the security of the technique. And I want to ask you today, why are all the classes focused on the technique? Why are there so few classes focused on the pleasure, on the connection of feeling your body, feeling the music, feeling your partner, and focus on that first? And then just be kind to yourself and to your partner and say, okay, maybe I don't close my legs properly, or maybe I lose a little bit of balance when I do the pivot, but fuck it, this is beautiful. I'm feeling my partner. And this is what I would love to propose with Biotango, because Biodanza, a vivencia of Biodanza, is all about the connection to the other people, to feel the emotion, to express yourself. And I also would like to try to connect this with life, because also in life we often have this mindset of, okay, I have to do this and that because I will get there one day and then I have success and then I will be happy. It's like learning the technique of tango. But what about now? What about the 5 years I need to get there? I will not enjoy them. So my plaidoyer of today is just be kind to yourself, allow yourself to be not perfect, and be really present, be in your body and honor it, and under the present moment with the people around you, and be grateful for it, because the life, the present moment, it's only now. And 10 minutes later, maybe this Zoom is over and I did not share what I really want to share with this group of people which are with me here now. So that's it.
Oh, great. That's so brilliant, Valerie. You know, everything everyone's saying about this, really. Just had to kind of jump in there because when I learned tango, it was with a Buddhist monk and a gay Buddhist monk. And I didn't realize how lucky I was, because the emphasis wasn't on the steps. It was very subtle about creating the safety in the group. You know, it was a closed group. The music was helping us to gradually tune in to our emotions. The teaching was a very gentle pace, but I enjoyed every single one of those classes. Every single, you know, I would come out with an uplifted state from everyone. So the learning process doesn't have to be this thing that you're describing, Valerie, which so often puts people off. They come in, the pace is too fast. It's all about getting this right, that right, learning this sequence, that sequence. And it doesn't have to be that way at all. I know it from my own experience. It can really be a gentle, beautiful sharing. You know, none of us were like professional dancers. None of us had any idea that we were aiming for that at all. We were just aiming to have a really pleasant evening with each other. And that was how it was. So it can be done.
Rosaria?
Yeah, I'm very convinced. I think I'm going to have a go at tango now, but yeah. But I'm just going to take a little bit to this idea of, you know, we are talking about dance. Dance is a vehicle, really, for me, and for the people that I teach, you know, is like, it's the way of actually communicating. And I really like that comment about the non-verbal communication, because it's really, it breaks any kind of borders. You know, if people cannot communicate properly with the dance, with the movement, with the gesture, with the presence, they can communicate. So I think that it's true that I may come to the point that, yes, certain personalities go to certain classes, but that is never fixed. It can change. And also, there may be that is the only way in for them to feel their body and then try other things. Some people try one dance style and they are there forever because that's what they like. And that's okay. You know, if they are happy with it, fine. If they are not happy with it and they continue, that's their choice and that's what they do. But there are some people that they try one, and then all of a sudden they are starting feeling really confident. It's like, oh, I really like that other thing. And then they get involved into something else. It's like, oh, I really like. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, they are doing a solo on a stage or whatever. And it's just that whole journey that that particular person has adopted. I mean, it's just completely priceless. And it's all about being comfortable in their own bodies. Again, intention is really important, because some people are going there and they need to be guided all the time. And that's fine. That may be their way in. and then they may feel more comfortable to release. I think different people have, we know people learn in very different ways. Some people need to be more guided. Some people need to be freer. And then I've taught teenagers that they said, no, I don't do choreography. I'm a freestyler. Before the end of the year, they were doing a lyrical in group, doing their ensembles and choreographing their own things because they found their voice and they found their ways of actually communicating. I think it's never to forget that if people try one dance style and they don't like it, there are thousands of different dance styles. And my goodness, in Brighton, we are a sport for choice. And not just that, there are thousands of dance styles, but also thousands of teachers. So just try another one, because the way that people speak is going to speak differently to everybody. And if you try something and it just is not for you, just try something else. It's great that you did the first step. Keep going. And is, you know, what Jamie was saying, being in our bodies, gosh, if we are not in our bodies, we know the relationship with the nervous system and everything, you know, we need to take care of it. We need to keep moving. You have a Ferrari, you need to invest more. You have a Renault, maybe not so much, but you know, it's our machine. We really need to work with it. And I suppose it's just, if people want to improve, if the way that they have to relate to dance is on progression and become better in one way or another, along the way, they are going to find their own way. They may feel, yeah, this makes me happy, and other people, no, this doesn't make me happy, I want to be freer. But the important thing for me, I suppose, where I stand and what I can facilitate with people is like, try something, play music, have a dance. And one day you may want to dance a jive. Another day you want to dance Carmina Burana in your kitchen. I mean, whatever works, but really go for it. It's just really, and I think Tamsin, one of the questions was about music. Music also is a vehicle to put, you can put a dance style, but you can create your own thing. It's just you can really communicate your feeling through the music you choose. And that is the perfect music at that perfect time. And so I'm going in circles, but basically it's like, just take it easy. Just do what works for you. If you want to dance Georgian dance today and tango tomorrow, good for you. If you want to do ballet and then contemporary, that's fine. Whatever it is, but really feel something that, you know, speaks to your body. And the last thing I will say, I did some flamenco dance. I mean, the palos in flamenco, there are about 49. So there are lots of different dance styles, and that happens in lots of international dances. There are lots of different dance styles within the actual genre. So she taught me this particular dance, very intricate, beautiful footwork. And I was just doing it. And it kind of felt good, but it was technique. And it was the tango. The tango in flamenco is really, really specific. And then she played the bulería, and the bulería style is far freer. It's the one that you play at parties. She played the music. I started doing the moves, and she said, this is your dance. And it's just like, you just embody it, because it's like, yeah, I just feel like that. I want to do it this way. With this, I mean, just really embody the music that you feel that is comfortable to you, and it's not fixed. One day will be one thing, another day will be another. So yeah, we can't, everything is too fixed around us, so let's do it flexible with dance and music, really.
Thanks, Rosaria. Yeah, you just mentioned that, yeah, there were some questions that came up in the comments. And Tamsin has asked, I'd be interested to hear from the panel more about the connection with music, the transformative power of moving with and perhaps instructed by the music. She says in tango and other dance forms. I mean, I know a lot of us here are tango dancers, but so maybe we could just talk about music and connection a little bit. I don't know if anybody wants to say anything about that.
I'll jump in just very quickly. It's music that saved me in a way. It relates to everything that we just discussed. My first tango teacher was a lovely dancer, but of course that doesn't make one a great teacher automatically. And there was this huge frustration. I could feel the music and I wasn't feeling the classes, and I was frustrated as hell and felt inadequate as well, of course, on top of that. But I fell in love with the music, and so I switched teachers, and 2 or 3 teachers further down the line, I started taking private lessons from a dear friend now, who taught me musicality, and I was at home. I can't remember complicated step routines, but I feel the music. So for me, once I started working with Heather, it was and my tango just automatically improved dramatically. And it really is about feeling the music and finding yourself in the music, and music will tell you, the music will tell your body what to do, so you don't have to think about it, is the way I see it. The worst thing we can do in dance is overthink it. The music, if I just feel the music, it's very much like feeling the energy of my partner, the person that I'm dancing with. The music is the same. You have to feel the music. I can't dance tango to heavy metal music. And the other way around. It can be done, Rachel, I promise it can be done. But the point is, you feel the music and you express yourself. And yeah, it's magic. I love it. Thank you.
I'd love to say a little bit about that, because I don't necessarily feel the most comfortable by going into my body initially to try and connect with the dance and the other person. But for me, I connect with the other person through the music, definitely. You know, because that's the thing that for me, the combination of sensing and feeling the other person. But if the music wasn't there, that would be really quite difficult for me. But it does give us this third vector, this kind of mediating, a beautiful mediating thing that's happening, where we're both listening to the music whilst being very close together. And I think that's a beautiful avenue that makes it much easier for me to be in the present moment with that person, because I can lose myself in the music. And because I'm feeling the music going through and in the expression, and then we're doing that together, and maybe some magical little thing just happens spontaneously. It's a very delightful, you know, process. And again, I think though you can get that right at the beginning if you do really simple things, by mindfully focusing on the walking, for example, not expecting to do too much, but allowing the music to come in and guide that and lift you through perhaps some of the difficulty. Yeah.
Okay. Let me just check just the questions that have come in. From Angela Elvira Bruce, I'm developing a film about the embodied experience of social dancing, and I'm formulating a visual language and how to represent the experience in a visual medium. Have any of you seen any films which have done this well, attempt to represent the experience in another art form? Anybody want to speak to that?
Carlos Saura's Carmen and Tango. Although overall as a film, Tango is not necessarily a better film than Carmen, but both are beautiful in that sense. Carlos Saura, and the films are called simply Carmen and Tango, 2 different films, and they're both wonderful.
Yeah, thanks, Sasha. There's another question from Tamsin here. How are the tango teachers feeling about the future of dance, which requires physical closeness and touch post-COVID? It's a very practical question, really. Anna, do you want to say to you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say a few things quickly, which are about music. I think without looking at it in terms of analyzing the sort of the structure or the score, I think by focusing on music as well, I think dancers can develop a sense of intuition, of deepening their intuition as well. And I think it's the idea of being part of the orchestra. And I think a dance that I think Rosaria was mentioning with flamenco, I think it's the clearest there, where the dancers actually are the orchestra, you know, with the palmas, the hands, castañettes, the heels. So I think in a way, obviously the way it's done in Argentinian tango is different, but there is a sense as well of the dancers being part of the music and the improvisation that's going on. tango films, I would also recommend Happy Together by Wong Kar-wai, which is a really beautiful film set in Buenos Aires. It's in Cantonese, but I really recommend it. It's a really interesting perspective of tango as well. And in terms of returning to tango, bring it on, amazing. I think it's gonna take everybody for their different reasons a while, but tango has survived so much. Of course, it's gonna be fine. Like, it brushes off a pandemic, like, you know, it'll take people time, but the core and the soul of it is there. That's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Anna. Yeah, just as
yeah, I was just going to say, like, I think partner dancing, or any dancing, but also dancing in a same space as someone else, and also connecting physically with someone, is going to be vitally important for people's well-being who have not had any touch or had very little touch in this time. I think something that I've been reflecting on this year, because we've had a lot of reflection time, is being that I need, as a teacher, to be able to communicate a lot through touch, and not being able to do that has made it so obvious to me how important, as a facilitator and as a dancer, there's a lot of information that can be shared through demonstration and through being in touch with someone, especially, and I work with people that are very, very much at the absolute beginning of learning, and helping them to build confidence in moving, and helping them even to have any kind of connection with their bodies. Especially some members of the queer community can be incredibly disconnected from their bodies because of body dysmorphia and gender dysphoria and things like that. Touch is a way for us to start that healing process, even if we're not doing like healing in the kind of overt way. Being in a gentle holding of each other can help us to remind ourselves we are in a body, that we are a body, that we're not separate. Their mind, body are not separate, they are one. So there's that. There's kind of like, there's going to be a need for, I think actually as a community, we can really step forward in the kind of support of healing people through this process of coming back out of this massive shock we've all had. It will take people a long time. People might be drawn to it because they need it. Some people might be scared of it because they've been scared of so much, and we are scared of touch, we're scared of having you know, any closeness, in this all very automatic to create so much space around it ourselves again. So how do we, as a community of facilitators, whatever our style, whatever, even if you're not a dance facilitator, any kind of facilitation, if you're going to be in a room together, how can you support people back into softening our embodiment to be able to receive, be able to give back in terms of touch, and even just general closeness? What can we do to heal that? I think is a really, really important thing for us all to pay attention to as we go back into live spaces.
Right. No, I'm aware of the time now. We're at it's 8:25 at the moment. So this call was due to run to 8:30. So Anna has to leave at 8:30. And I suspect that it's maybe a good idea to stick to the time anyway. I think it's been a really interesting discussion. So maybe we could, over the last 5 minutes, try and sort of bring some closing remarks. Let's have a little think about anything we want to sum up and wind it down. I don't think we have to finish on the dot at 8:30, but if we start to sort of maybe think about what are our takeaways from today.
Yeah, I just kind of like to build on what Rachel was saying there, really. You know, that sensitivity to what feels okay for people, and to keep that sensitivity going. Yeah, we need it because of what everyone's coming out of. But also, I think with any kind of couples dance, social dance, the more we keep that sensitivity there to what feels comfortable for people, and for people to feel okay to say what feels comfortable and doesn't feel comfortable. Also, even if they know it's just an emotional difficulty that they have, but to really encourage in the learning group a kind of openness and a willingness to share how the experience has been, however it's been. If it's been awful, to share that. If it's been great, to share that, because it's just bringing that acceptance and that openness, which I think builds a sense of safety and community that we want in the dance, you know, so that people can really come to it and feel an opening naturally at their own pace.
Yeah, thanks, Helen. That's lovely. Valerie, do you want to go?
Yeah, I would like to follow up with this topic. I feel is so important to talk about it. The pandemic has messed up hugely with human beings' need of touch. We are biologically built for human contact from when we are an embryo in our mom's belly, from the baby. Babies die if they are fed and they sleep well, but if they don't get touched, they die. And I think the pandemic was a huge wake-up call for many people of how important this is. And now it's going to be a huge challenge to get closer again. And we have to be really, really careful when we meet each other about the feedback, because all people are really different. My boyfriend just told me the story. He met someone he had not seen for 2 years, and he had this natural impulse of hugging him, but then he was like interrupting himself, like, whoa, I don't know if you want to be hugged. And he said, no, come here, I don't care. So we need to listen to each other. So the feedback, which is also really important in tango dancing, you know, how close do we want to be, the close embrace, the open embrace. But I think there will be a huge longing in human beings for getting back to the embrace, getting back to hug each other. And maybe as much as the desire is there, as much the fear will be there. So we really need facilitator who can help people to guide them through this process and manage it together. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks, Valerie. Anyone else like to jump? Rosaria?
Yeah, just very briefly, and I completely agree with all that. And I think that the people that have realized that they, you know, that they long for that touch and it hasn't been there, is going to come with a vengeance. And I think that that is also a risk, because in that kind of wanting, there may be a loss of mindfulness and the behavior and their awareness of where they are. So I think it's going to be a challenging time for people to find their feet again. People that thought that they were fine with it, now they are not. You know, people have gone the other way as well. And people may have been pretending that something was working for them before and now it's not. They don't want to feel so close to people. So it can go both ways. So I think it's really reiterating and completely endorsing that idea of whatever was, now is not. and they maybe that kind of not being able to how manage that desire of being close to people, to communicate, articulate it in a way that it could be accepted by the other person, which would be very different to another one. So it just really, more than anything, I suppose that is investing time in reading the signals and in really talking. And what Helen was just saying, opening up the space is okay. You know, if anything, we should have developed over the last years a little bit more empathy. It's like, it's okay, you know, we've gone through that. Just relax. You know, what is okay for you? If you just want to hold just the hand rather than getting close, that's okay. But it's just really creating those bridges to whatever stage people are at, and that they don't need to jump in again to how it was. I think it would be quite important all of us, really.
Thanks, Rosaria.
I would love to add on the overall topic of mindfulness and dancing, just as a short, my takeaway is dancing will teach you mindfulness, and mindfulness will make you a better dancer. The two really are the same. So whether you like dancing or whether you're into mindfulness, if you're into mindfulness and don't dance, start dancing. Otherwise, we are lost. Valerie is right, or Pina Bausch was right, and the other way around. They really are one. And dancing without mindfulness is just doing some steps. Thank you.
Thanks, Sasha. Anyone else who'd like to? It'd be nice if we all just, yeah, Jamie.
Yeah, just kind of wanted to echo basically a kind of summary almost really of what everyone's just said from a wider perspective. I think obviously one of the focus is of, you know, coming from a non-dancing perspective, as I mentioned a few times tonight, you know, the need to be present is even greater than it ever has been as we kind of slowly tiptoe out of COVID. And obviously this has been very tango focused, and I've loved, you guys have sold me already. I was already sold on tango. I'll be there soon. It's a case of, you know, we've all got to find our own pace and our own steps out of this. You know, I find myself getting anxious about stuff that I wouldn't have thought twice about, you know, and that journey is going to be different for all of us. So I just encourage everyone to, tango's a way in to mindfulness, whatever mindfulness way works for you. For me this summer, I've been jumping in the sea and getting very cold very quickly and getting very buzzy about that. And that's been a great way in for me, you know, just encouraging everyone, tango, whatever works for you. I think we've all spoken about that already, but I thought that might be a nice summarizing point to finish on. And also, again, we've already touched on this, but respecting even more so people's boundaries, and you know, everyone's going to have to be going at different paces for different things. Obviously I have, you know, wonderful discussions with my clients every day on a very personal and physical basis, you know, that mind-body connection and how the two are completely entwined. And sometimes, as Helen knows, you know, talking about it might be the way through a whole. Sometimes just being still and being quiet might be the way through the next thing. And sometimes a physical release that you might get with dance, or some hands-on work, or whatever your thing is, that might be the next way through. So I guess it's a call to arms just to, you know, find whatever way works for you to get through this and come out the other side stronger, really.
Thanks. Ieva.
I'd like to add, thank you, Jamie, for sharing. As you were sharing, I had a thought, and I think, you know, everybody's thinking, yeah, how it's gonna be now, and it's gonna be maybe awkward. And I know that people have been sharing some experiences. Dancing with masks is not the same as it used to be. I would say, I think that just like in tango, we follow our intention. And if we have a good intention, and if we're guided by that intention, you will never hurt anybody, I think. I think it's more likely that you will not hurt anybody. You will not step over the boundaries as much as you do it with the awareness and the intention of whatever that intention is, that, you know, I am going to be respectful, or I will be listening to others. I will be listening to me, because I think that's also very important. From my experiences, when I listen to myself first, I am more able to listen to others as well. So for me, it's really important to set that intention to listen to myself first. But yeah, I think setting an intention in that way would probably help to guide through this difficult and, I guess, well, awkward or challenging challenging time where there are no kind of rules or regulations, or we don't know how to do things. And I think you can take an example from tango, because I mean tango is totally improvisational dance where rarely you have guidance. You just need to always follow with the intuition and respecting other and responding to the other. It's more like a dialogue rather than I'm gonna do this or this. So I think that's it's a great metaphor and I guess guiding principle. Not just in tango, in life as well. I think in life as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Ieva. And I think Rachel, did you?
Just more of the same. I think it's about what seems to be the kind of very important principle that I have realized really applies to everything, life, dance, everything, is really that if I am not aware of myself, I can't really make much choices. I can't make many choices. So if I want to be in choice rather than in habit or in automatic behavior, then let's just start with awareness. So if you're hearing a lot of like, you can get into all the kind of places we would love to get to eventually, where do we need to start? We need to start with awareness of ourselves. So whatever route that might be, as everyone's saying, start there. And even if that's just taking a moment in your day to feel your feet on the ground, taking a moment to notice the green of the leaves, just enough of that, like the moments of mindfulness and embodied awareness can help us just come to ourselves. And if we can have that as a practice, that can then feed into any of our life and any of our being, and it really, really can soothe and support our relationships once we can serve and know ourselves enough. So let's start here first. This is home, so take care of home.
Thanks, Rachel. Well, that's lovely. Well, thanks, everyone. There's been so much here that I can't possibly sort of sum it up at all. I've got my notes here. Yeah, what can I say? What I'd like to say, I'd like to do this again. Actually, I mean, it's this has been great. I think this is such a rich subject matter. Helen and I have been discussing this for the last year and pulling all sorts of strands together. And this meeting this evening it's been pulling, and it's very interesting because a lot of the same things are being said in a way, but that doesn't, we're diverse people. We're completely different people. I mean, and some of you I haven't met until tonight. So it's I think that's incredibly interesting. And so yeah, I don't know. Awareness. I guess the one word that comes out that I've sort of repeated, is about awareness. But for me, and I said at the beginning, these two bits of my life have both been very important for me, dancing and mindfulness practices, and they've, they sort of comes, they sort of intrinsically linked. A bit what Sasha was saying about one informs the other, and for me, they're kind of vital. When I say vitally important, they are. For me, when I started, both sort of partner dancing and meditating, I had to save my life at the time. I had a crisis at the age of 37. And I was sort of fighting for my life, and the two things that, many things, but two of the things that kind of saved me were dancing and meditating. There's a lot of other stuff. I mean, swimming, all kinds of things. Walking in nature, looking at the sea. but for me, these are vitally important. You know, just to go down, I live near the sea, just to go and look at the waves and to mindfully, you know, to really be with the wave and to swim in this. I sail and I swim, and to be in the water and to be on the water. Those things are really important for me. Well, I have to dance. I mean, it's like, it's not, I don't have a choice. It's like the red shoes, you know, it's like, I just got to dance. I hear some music and my body just kind of goes and starts moving around. It's not really a conscious choice at all. But what's nice is also to bring a bit of consciousness to that, and it enriches it. It's bringing some additional awareness, makes it even better. You know, I mean, I just like, you know, just giving myself over to the music is fantastic. But giving myself over to the music and doing with the sort of additional kind of awareness is even better, you know, it's, for me. But I mean, and something a little bit that, you know, also you know, tango, and I keep mentioning tango, obviously, but, you know, but it is a form. And I think it's interesting to sort of the discipline. I like the discipline of the form. And it's hard work, you know, I like a bit of hard work, actually. I find it very good for me to do things that are quite difficult. And, but then to sort of throw that, but then there's that point of improvisation. So I go, you know, do my classes, do my practice, and then I just go and do it. And I love that point where I've sort of learned a skill, and then I can just not think about it, just do it. And there's that moment. And by the way, Milonga, for anybody who's been watching or listening, a Milonga is a tango social event. So people have maybe been hearing this all evening. I don't know what we're talking about. So when I go to Milonga and I'm dancing, and I'm in that moment, and I'm in the music, and I'm with a person, and I'm sort of with myself, and I'm with that person, with the music, it's a kind of fantastic feeling. And it goes, it's physical, it's emotional, spiritual, dare I say it. It's you know, it's really complete, and you know, I can connect to myself, with other people, with the universe, and you know, that is sort of, you know, life and death and everything really for me. Anyway, so it's been lovely to share all this with you this evening, and I would love to do it again. So maybe we'll fix it up again. So yeah, I think we'll just wind it up there, if that's all right with everyone, and see you all soon. Okay, bye.